Hello guys, we're live. So welcome to this new live stream from Gio. I'm Gio at Smart Home Makers. Today, unfortunately, Sam, he called off sick. So he will be on the show, but not today, unfortunately. But the show must go on. So today I've come up with some content. We're going to talk about Home Assistant. We're going to try and see from a beginner's point of view, is from, can't really say start to finish because you never finish with Home Assistant, but it would be good to sort of have a bit of an overview. I've prepared some slides, something just generic, and then we'll just go through Q&A and topics and anything else that you want to talk about. So first of all, just want to know if you guys can actually see me well, can see me moving, and you can hear me hopefully well. I'm not going to move a bit too much, but I'm going to try to stand today to keep it nice and short, condensed, so I don't really talk for like hours and bore everyone. But it's nice to see some familiar faces and also some new faces. So we have Home Assistant, which has commented a few things over here. You've got Nicholas, nice to see you back. Who else have we got? Let me scroll down. So we have Paulo from Portugal. Must be a bit warmer, hopefully, than here in the UK. We've got Jill, and let's see who else we have. We have Mosiko. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong. From Israel, loud and clear with no lag. Okay, that's good to know. It's interesting. So first of all, I want to know: are you all okay? Right, so let's just check in with that. I've been off for, I think, 7-8 days. I haven't published a video. My last video was a Sonos automation video. So I decided to take a few days off to prepare content for May, to actually think of what to do next month. I've been filling in a lot of my thoughts go into this little book. So I also posted a community post asking what you guys actually wanted to see in next month. I think someone actually mentioned this, and they mentioned they wanted to see a sort of a start from finish, or like how does the whole Home Assistant thing fit together. So today what we're going to do, I'm gonna, if you want to get a glass of water or something, I don't know how long it's going to take, maybe 30 minutes, 60 minutes. We'll see how many questions we get. But we'll go through what I've prepared, and then we're going to have an opportunity to do some Q&A. And also, really, if someone actually wants to ask a question and they want to jump on the live, I can send also a guest link over here, so you can actually ask me the question in person and everyone can actually hear that. So if someone's actually up for that guest link feature, let me know in the live chat, and then I'll create the link and I'll send it over. So towards the end, you can actually jump on and ask your question as you wish. We've got a few people joined in. We have Mario, greeting from Croatia. Been there once, loved it. Never been to the Netherlands, but I will certainly be going when things sort of easier. So nice to see you, Leon. So cool. So no, loving it. So what we'll do is I'll take this welcome thing off, and I'll share the screen. So move this to the other screen, and we'll start going through the stuff. Okay, set full screen. Okay, now that should be big enough for you guys to see. Let me know if you can't see it or not. Let me put the comments back up over here. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading the comments, but I'm going to try and keep looking at you guys that you're over here on the camera. I haven't got a teleprompter or anything, so I'll do the best I can. So all right, so to the agenda of today. Goal of today's session is to go through and understand Home Assistant. So you're probably interested in Home Assistant. That's the reason you're subscribed to the channel, or you just found this on YouTube just now, or Twitch, or whatever you're actually looking at this from. The idea here is to, it's not going to be an installation video. We're not going to be doing anything technical, but we're just going to go through the steps of what you actually need to know and need to understand, so that you can then learn by yourself. Really think of, is Home Assistant the right tool, platform for me to use, for you to use personally? The main concepts that you sort of need to know and you need to research. And then there's plenty of content on YouTube, Home Assistant websites full of documentation. And basically you can find out automation projects and everything else. So we're going to go through these concepts, start with why Home Assistant, what do I need, or what do you need to actually start, how to use it, some of the basic concepts like entities, add-ons, integrations. We're going to look at dashboards, what they are and what you can do with them, automations, some basic concepts around automations, scripts, scenes, helpers, zones, and at the end we'll talk about HACS, which is the Home Assistant Community Store. So let me know if there's a concept you think I haven't got on here. We might try to cover it as like point 12 towards the end. Cool. I can see also Matteo joined in from Italy. Buonasera, buonasera. Okay, so we've got everyone in. Let's go and let's start with the first slide. So I'm going to tell you really the reason why I picked Home Assistant as my own smart home platform. So the thing really that got me to use Home Assistant was that it was compatible with nearly 2,000 devices. I think I just checked recently on the website. So the fact that you can use existing sensors that you probably already bought, or existing stuff like Sonos speakers, Google, whatever, nearly everything is now compatible with Home Assistant. And if it's not compatible with Home Assistant out of the box, you can get it from the Home Assistant community store, which we'll talk about later on the end. So that's one of the biggest reasons it's compatible. So if you have a piece of kit of technology that you can't actually connect, then it's not part of an integrated smart home solution, in my opinion. It's highly customizable, so you can do anything, and there's like 5 ways of doing the same thing, which is a pro, but also a con for beginners, because people get confused and don't know really how to approach and how to start. Local control devices is big. It's huge in terms of security aspects, but also in terms of performance. What do I mean by local control? That basically you don't need to go off to a server somewhere else or rely on servers, to do most of your things in Home Assistant. You can do them locally. So a device, for example, a motion sensor, can communicate to a light bulb locally, and say, right, there's been motion, and turn on the light bulb. You can get the look and feel as you want, right? You can customize it a lot. So if we take, for example, things like HomeKit, well, you can't really customize the look and feel, the Philips Hue app or other famous apps. There's not much you really can do to it to make it look custom and personalized. Other really good aspect is a large community. There's a lot of YouTubers around. I did some research to try and look for some open hab YouTubers to maybe come on the channel, do maybe a bit of a debate, stuff like that. There's not many open hab, for example, YouTube channels, but there's quite a lot of Home Assistant YouTube channels. There's a big community on Reddit, Facebook. There are a couple of groups, at least, that I'm part of, that I know of, and it's growing rapidly, more and more as it grows. With a large community, there's also a large community of developers. What does that mean? Because Home Assistant is open source, so developers can chip in and contribute to build new features, and they release new features every 3 weeks. So in the past, when I had Samsung SmartThings, it would be a bit of a nightmare. I mean, there would be something that I would hope in the future they would actually bring in, but then it would take so long for them to actually bring it in. But with Home Assistant, I've noticed that something that might not work today, is probably going to be added in the future. I just read today, I don't know if anyone knows, but I don't know if anyone uses Starling Bank, or if that's like a UK thing only. Let me know in the chat. But I just found out on Twitter that now Starling Bank is actually connected into Home Assistant, meaning that like if you, when you get your payday or whatever, you can ring a bell or do a ka-ching sound, or I don't know, whatever crazy automation, or turn your bulb green, right? So it's like, that's a new thing, and I just found out about that today. So this is just one of an example of why I'm using Home Assistant. Let me know why you are using a Home Assistant. I can see a few new faces. We've got Sarah here, buonasera Sarah, from Italy. So that, okay, so we've got a question. I'll take a question from Jill quickly. Jill's saying, which other smart home solutions did you have had a look on? So mainly HomeKit. So I'm running HomeKit in parallel with Home Assistant just because I'm into iOS devices. So I've got a lot of those devices around. So I'm using HomeKit. I tried to use Philips Hue for the, well, I'm still using it for the lights, but it is terribly expensive to scale up. And then SmartThings was what I used at the beginning. I did a 30-minute video of trying to get OpenHAB to work. So I can't form an opinion on OpenHAB because I really haven't spent much time on it. So it's unfair for those guys. But thanks for the question. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So what do I need? Right, what do you need? So there's going to be at least 3 things you need for sure. You need a computer or a microcomputer. You need a piece of hardware in your home that's always on, and that's going to act as your hub. You might have heard the word hub, the terminology hub. Hub's quite common. It's just basically a computer that sits in your house connected to the internet that runs Home Assistant on. Now let me cover the hardware options after this slide, and I'll show you actually some examples. Second thing you're going to need is understanding the concepts. Right? If you don't understand some of the concepts of how to use Home Assistant, then you're going to get lost because there's so many options, there's so many things you can do. You can easily probably break your own system, quite easily get frustrated. I've had a lot of comments of people that tried Home Assistant and then, I don't know, they couldn't get it to work, and then they tried again and couldn't get it to work, and just goes through this cycle of negativity. Let me know if you've actually tried yourselves numerous times. I honestly can tell you, the first time I tried Home Assistant, it lasted for 2 weeks. Then I broke the whole thing. I don't know what I did. I can't remember what I did, but I broke it. And I'm a software engineer, so I can fully appreciate that. This was a few years ago, so nowadays it's getting more and more difficult to break your own system, but still. Third thing you really need is a little bit of patience. Probably that's the reason why we've got 26 people live. Thank you for actually tuning in. Smash the like button if you're getting some value. Subscribe for more videos like this. But anyway, you're going to need a little bit of patience. So you're going to need to learn a little bit and also accept that it's going to take a little bit of time to get your head around it. But there are so many benefits around Home Assistant that's just going to make a lot of sense. So I'm going to take read a few comments. So we got Raspberry over here. It's nice to see you streaming. Yeah, good. Once in a while, try to get the streaming thing back up and running. Home Assistant, so backup frequently. I would say so. Yes. I say why not? Why not? But where we love backups, I mean, if we're geeks, we know what backups are. But people are going to say, "What backup of what?" So why not? So let me show you some hardware example of what you can actually do. So let me do this. Okay. Okay, so I've got a kit prepared in, it's kit.co. There's a link down in the description below. Now, I need to let you know that if you do click on anything that's on here, these are like affiliate links. They go to Amazon, so you don't pay anything more, but I need to disclose it, and I might get like 1 penny, I don't know, a couple of pennies out of a purchase. Anyway, so the reason I actually got this kit is because I found this the easiest way to showcase what you need when you want to start out, right? So I've got this nice kit called Getting Started with Home Assistant that I normally refer people to when they are brand new, and this is the I have to say the budget option, right? It's not because it's not good, it's because it's probably one of the lowest ways you can get into Home Assistant. And to be honest, I would go for a low spec anyway, unless you're 100% sure you love it, because you try it out and you might not like it, right? So a couple of things. So Raspberry Pi, if you're probably a tech guy like me, you'll probably have one of these around. Model 3B Plus is like the lowest spec you can get working decently. SD card, you're going to need that to plug it inside the Raspberry Pi. So this Raspberry Pi will be like your mini computer. I always suggest having like a case, unless you have this completely out of the way. Have a nice case around it, and you can get so many different type of cases. What else would you need? You're going to need this power supply, depending on what your country you're in. An Ethernet cable. So you're going to need to put it, if you haven't got like a complex networking system, you're going to need to like plug it into your router. You're going to need this converter little thing if you haven't got an SD card slot on your PC, because what you'll need to do is you'll need to do what we call flashing. So you'll need to install Home Assistant onto this memory card. And this is a Combi 2-stick. So this is something for specific Zigbee devices. So something that I recommend people getting if they want to buy like Zigbee bulbs or so Zigbee. If you don't know what Zigbee is, it's just like a protocol. So like you have Wi-Fi, Zigbee is just a technology. It's basically a way of devices talking to each other, to just simplify it a lot. So this is what I recommend for starting out. However, I've got a different kit. There should be a link on the description. So this is what I actually ended up buying, and that's what I'm running. An Android and 4 gigs of RAM. So this is considerably more powerful and more expensive. So I think this is around £150, 200, so $150. And I think Raspberry Pi kit, I think it's like £40, $40. So there's quite a difference. And you can, in your own time, scroll through this and you can have a look at all of the other things that I actually own in my smart home. Other option is Home Assistant Blue. So Home Assistant Blue is basically already installed. So that's as close as you can get from basically doing nothing and just it working out of the box. Home Assistant Blue isn't really available in my country at the moment of me recording this, but if you're watching this as in the future, then Home Assistant Blue probably will be your best bet. It's the same hardware as this Android over here, but it's just all done for you, and you've got like a nice blue casing and all that stuff. So that's all good stuff. So let's see. Let me check the comments quickly. A question from Jill: do you have a prod and dev set up to test things? Sort of. I used to have it. I don't have it at the moment. The reason why, because I decided to start from scratch 2 months ago, and I actually filmed nearly 100 videos, and I've got this video course that I basically is documenting the whole process of me building the smart home from scratch. So that's basically me building up the dev version. Once I've got it all built and I'm nearly there, I think I've got a few modules to record and to complete. Once I've got that all done, then I will probably then protect it more and then probably create a dev system. But at the moment, I've got both running, especially when I do YouTube videos. Okay, yeah, I mean, I've got an Android N2. I actually got the 2 gigs of RAM version, not the 4 gigs of RAM, because I think it wasn't available at the supplier. I bought the 4 gig, then they sent me the 2 gig. It was a long story, so that's not too bad. Purge recorder. Okay, so today we're gonna stay a bit basic. There's so much to cover. I know there's so many topics to talk about, but I'm happy to pick this up separately. And I'm also curious of what you're interested in the recorder and purging feature of Home Assistant. But today we just try to keep it basic. Exactly. I mean, we're in the UK, so the Home Assistant Blue is not available at all. It's quite difficult. All right, so let me go back. Let's carry on. Okay, so simply put, there are quite a few concepts to get your head around in Home Assistant. I made a dedicated video, I think it's a 10-minute video that you can watch on the channel after this, and it goes in a bit more detail on these concepts that you need to understand. There are some terminology, and this terminology we will refer to as YouTubers, and we will refer, and they are also in the documentation, things like devices and entities. I won't really explain the difference here between a device and an entity. I've got it's supposed to be like a temperature, light sensor, motion sensor. It's a multi-purpose sensor, okay? And you can identify that as a device. So you've got a physical sensor, and you say, well, this is a device, okay? And you can touch it, see it. Sometimes devices and entities are a one-to-one. So there's one entity for one device. But sometimes you have multiple entities of one device. So, an entity is like a representation of, it's like a sensor in this example. So the degrees of temperature, the level of light, and if there's motion or not. So that's the difference between a device and an entity. Let me know if anyone's confused and doesn't understand the difference between a device and an entity in Home Assistant. Anyway, let's move on. Let's also, in the meantime, that you guys thinking about that, let's reflect upon add-ons. Now, I saw on one of the Facebook groups recently, someone asking a question, what's add-ons? How add-ons different than integrations, and what's that all about? So add-ons are basically software that enhances your Home Assistant experience, but they're not really part of Home Assistant themselves. So if I'm gonna scroll back, I'm gonna show you my Home Assistant setup over here. Now, if you scroll down, and you can go to Supervisor, and you can go to Add-on Store. The Add-on Store, you look at this immediately, you think, wow, look at that. There's so many things you can go through. And there's some really good videos on YouTube, like top 5, top 10, and some of the guys I know, they've done a really good job. My style is more install what I need, and I just want to be a little bit of a minimalist of what add-ons I actually have on my system, trying to reduce them as much as I can. Few things that you're gonna need for sure is a way of controlling your files, a way of accessing your Home Assistant files, right? They're called like YAML files, they're called configuration files. And sometimes you're gonna need to go into them, or you're gonna need access for sure, eventually. So one way to do that is using the file editor. For example, this guy over here. And another one is Visual Studio Code, which Visual Studio Code is a programming IDE. It's normally, but it's also part of Home Assistant. As you can see over here, you can create code, and you can do all sorts of things. So we're not going to go into this detail in this video, but just to let you know, add-ons are there to enhance your Home Assistant experience, and they're there to help you. But each add-on you install is going to occupy, obviously, memory, CPU, right? So I'm trying to be a minimalist. I think I'm going to nearly get down to one add-on only, but we'll see. We'll get to that. All right. So hope that was clear in terms of what add-ons are. Looks like we're already 30 minutes in, so we're going quite well. We go to the next one. So integrations, right? So integrations are probably where you're going to spend most of your time at the beginning of your Home Assistant journey. So at the beginning, after you've installed Home Assistant, you got to move on to integrating stuff. Integrating basically means take Sonos speakers, right, and integrate them into Home Assistant. So now Home Assistant will be able to control the speakers, and Home Assistant will be able to see the status of those speakers. So Home Assistant will be able to tell me if the speakers are playing or not, what is playing on the speakers, what's the volume, for example, and we'll also be able to play music, pause music, And this is just one example. I'm picking Sonos speaker because it's just fresh, something I was just thinking about. But as I said, there are like thousands of integrations. So that's what an integration is. It's just a way of communicate. It's basically a way of communication, right? Local versus cloud. This is the big whole thing. Again, going back to the thing I mentioned at the beginning, one of the advantages: local connections are going to be always better, and they're going to perform better, and they're going to work when your internet doesn't work. And cloud relies on the internet. I use a mixture of both. This will depend on what devices you have and what devices, and this will also make you think of the devices that you're going to buy, right? So let me jump into Home Assistant. Let me show you now what integrations I have. So these are some of my integrations. So I have Apple iCloud integration. I have an Apple TV integration, Google Cast. I have Home Assistant iOS. I've got HACS, which we'll talk about later. HomeKit. So you're able to connect Home Assistant to HomeKit. So you can actually use Home Assistant devices on HomeKit, okay? Life 360, that's the device tracker. So it's like it's a GPS on your phone, so you can install it on your phone. I will tell you locations, and then you can do like automations and things like that. LifeX, we've got Logitech, we've got Meteo, what else have we got? Nest. So Nest is one of the ones that run through cloud, for example. Camera systems, Philips Hue, Plex media servers, Reolink, Shelly, which are like Wi-Fi smart relays, Sonos, PlayStation, Taro, TP-Link, Tuya, Ubiquiti, and Zigbee. So those are my current integrations. I think I nearly integrated everything I have. There might be something that I'm forgetting. But as I said, I started from scratch, and I recorded everything that I did on my smart home, on my course, on my course platform that I've got, and I think I'm nearly there. So I think I've got everything up and running. Okay, so a few questions. So why do you use with supervisor? I don't know if Mosquito, if you could clarify your question, that would be awesome. We have Nest is horrible to configure if you're a beginner. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't recommend Nest unless you have it already and you don't want to replace it. It is a nightmare to configure. Not only you have to pay for some money, but unless you're like a developer, chances of getting it to work are slim. And it's one of the most commented videos I've ever had with people struggling a lot about it. So yeah, I will steer away from Nest, unfortunately. And that's not Google's, sorry, it's not Home Assistant's fault. It's just the way the API is done. Okay, question in from Martin. So let me read this through. So do you have everything locally connected through Combi network, or are you using other hubs? If so, why? So I am using another hub for sure. I'm using Tuya. So I've got this range of Zigbee devices that I'm using. I'm using Tuya for that, mainly for experimentation. There's a gateway of that. So you gotta have to think about a few things. That obviously, if I do something, sometimes I do it because I want to learn it, because then I can share it with you guys on this channel. But I would try to steer away from having too many gateways and too many, middle steps as much as you can. Try to keep it simple. So reduce the complexity of your system, and you'll have a lot less problems. Like they say, less is more, right? But I do use a Combi 2-stick, and I do use ZHA. And over here, if you have a look, I have various sensors from different brands, as you can see. So I have to say I'm using them quite a lot, and I'm really happy with them. Sometimes these Zigbee devices drop out. So for example, some of the motion sensors, I need to resync them here and there, but they're fine. I might pull up some stats later in the future to actually think about how many times they actually drop down, or how reliable they are. Because for me, it's important to understand how something's reliable. So I need it running for a few months before I can say, yeah, this is reliable. Go and buy it. So pick one more question and we'll move on. Home Assistant says, yeah, spent an hour today to do it. Was your fault as I saw your video on Node-RED? Yeah, okay, so I apologize. The videos are unfortunately out of date. The latest video I've seen out there is from Chris Gaisford. He was on this channel as part of one of the Smart Home Makers show. So if you'll find him, and I think he did an end-to-end video. It took him half an hour, right? So recorded time of the video to do it according to the latest documentation, because it always changes. So yeah. That's not a fun one to do again, I guess. Awesome. Okay, let's move ahead. So hopefully we've clarified what integrations are. Dashboards. Okay, the dashboards are what you'll be using day in, day out. Dashboards are what you're going to be interacting with, what your family are going to be using to control your smart home. I've got two examples here of two dashboards, and this is really to be transparent and honest with you guys. The dashboard on the left was something that I did initially. You can actually see the date, so it's actually quite cool. I haven't noticed. 21st of September. So this was last year. I had that dashboard there as sort of thing that I was working towards. And then you can see in March, the dashboard sort of evolved. And let me know on the live stream right now, let me know which one of the two dashboards you prefer, the one on the left or the one on the right. I think the one on the right looks better. And why I'm showing you these two pictures is that you'll start out with something simple on your dashboard, and then you can always evolve and change it, create new dashboards. You can completely change the look and feel of how dashboards are. Not sure if you can notice, but there you can also have multiple tabs. I've got a detailed tutorial of how I actually created that dashboard that you can see on the right hand side. And that there's a video, it's quite long, so I would suggest watching it when you've got some time. It's around 40 minutes, but time stamps, and you can skip along. So that's one over there. Okay, so let's see if we got some what's over here. Let me sort this out. So we can see, right. I like the right. You can see the evolution, and right one looks better, more user-friendly. Yeah, so this is basically how we all improve. Or no, I am not a guru. I'm just saying, it's basically wherever I've got to, I'm sharing with you guys. This is not the perfect dashboard. You'll never have the perfect dashboard. Just get a dashboard to start with. Then you'll get feedback from yourself or family, and then you will adjust it. You will learn techniques. Don't try to create the dashboard on the right immediately if you're completely new. Be happy with the dashboard on the left, and then the ball will keep on rolling, and you don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's talk about automations now. Now, a lot of the there's a debate in the community around dashboards and automations. As should we focus on dashboard control? Should we focus on just pure automation? So some people think that smart homes are just automations. You shouldn't be lifting up a finger. You shouldn't be doing anything. You shouldn't be tapping a button over, on a screen. Things should just happen by magic. That's my magic impression. So let me know where you stand on this. Do you stand on automations, only automations? That's what we should focus on. Should we focus on dashboards and getting them looking good? Combination of both. I'm a combination of both at this stage. So talking about automations, right? In Home Assistant, there are three things you need to know about about automations. The three components: triggers, actions, conditions. Okay. You need a trigger and you need an action. Your condition is optional. So those are the three things that you need to understand. Let me give you an example. At sunset, turn my lights on if someone is at home. So take this sentence and we can apply this to triggers, actions, conditions. So at sunset, that's the trigger. Turn my lights on is the action. And if someone is at home is the condition. And then you could do many other things, right? You can make it quite complex, but this is to give you an idea. Also in Home Assistant, you can use triggers, you can use multiple triggers, and you can use multiple actions, okay? And you can use multiple conditions. So in one automation, you can create multiples of. You can create a lot of automations. You can create them through the UI, and you can also create them writing code. Depends what you prefer. I would start with the UI, understand how that works, and you'll see, you know, this trigger, action, condition. You'll see how it is. Actually, let me not let's see if I can actually show you. Let's see. Let me get this up and running. Let's get this up and running. Mouse is not picking up for some reason. Okay. So let's go. Let me show you. So what I would say is always start with a fresh, always start from the UI. Click on add automations. I'm just gonna go quite quickly. So these are the components, right? Name, you need to give it a name. So give it a descriptive name of what this is supposed to do. Description is optional. Triggers, so this is where you put your trigger, and actually says it's, you can specify multiple triggers, and this is what starts the process of an automation rule. So without the trigger, nothing happens. The condition basically says, trigger it, but this also condition has to be satisfied, or these set of conditions need to be satisfied, and you can add them here. Actions, and then actually what actually happens with them. I think here people get confused after, you know, if you start looking at trigger type and then you see, oh, device, event state, geolocation. I mean, tell me if this feels overwhelming for someone that's a bit new. And to be fair, 9 out of 10 times you've got to use state. That's like nearly the default, but probably you don't know what state is. And, you know, there's a few things to understand, but you can pick states. So states would be a state of a motion sensor. So is it on or off, right? State of a speaker would be, is it playing, is it paused? And you have these options from to. So from was what it was before it triggered, what was it afterwards, right? So I'm not going to go too much into detail about how automations work. Because again, this is for beginners. I want to cover a lot of topics quite quickly in this live. So, you know, we're going to go through it quite quickly. But just to let you know, exclusive for this live, I've got a coupon for my automations deep dive course that I'm planning and I'm working on, where I'm actually going to go through this in a huge amount of details. So if you're enjoying this stream and you enjoy this type of content, you can actually also enroll in the membership, link in the description, and you can actually, when this is released, you've got like a 7-day period where it's like free, so you can actually consume it for free also, if you wanted to wait for that. So there's a few ways, a few options really. So, but let me go ahead. Other thing to mention, automations, there are plenty of free content on this YouTube channel and other YouTube channels, so you don't have to go through courses and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. I have videos like 7 automations with NFC tags, zones, so there's plenty of examples. Recently I did a couple of automations which I'll show you. Let me get out this over here to give you an example of what you can do. So this automation over here is called shower playlist, and if I edit it with this pencil, I'll show you what this actually does. So I have a water sensor in the shower, And as soon as the water sensor senses water, it will change state. Remember we said state over here as a trigger type. That's one of the most common ones. We go from off to on. So basically what we're saying is when the water sensor goes from dry to wet, then what do? We are playing some music and we're calling a service. And the service is media play. In this example, we're selecting a source, and the source is a particular song or a playlist, and I'm picking my Sonos speaker. So if you want to see this in action, check the video just before this one, and you can actually see me see that working. This is an example of how you can combine a water sensor and a speaker, and you can, that's the power of smart home and home assistant, right? And then you can do stuff like that. So you can open up your shower, water comes down, and then music just starts, right? So I think that's cool, but I probably think you do too, as you're here on this live. So that's awesome. Anyway, let's carry on. Let me see a few questions before I actually move along. Okay, so Jill, thanks for the comment again. I think a combination or a good mix of automation and interaction, for example, run some special scenes. Oh, I like you mentioned scenes, so you must be a Home Assistant user. We're going to talk about scenes, I think, now or in the next 5-10 minutes. But yeah, no, I agree. It's a mixture of both. Question: why use the automation built in Home Assistant instead of using the powerful Node Red? So I 100% understand that. For me, at the beginning, it has to be less is more. So the goal of my channel, particularly is Smart Home Makers, is to help people get into it, right? And I really believe that Home Assistant, if people go over the hurdle of it, the initial difficulty, like I said, the patience that we need, then it's an awesome system. And I think at the beginning, out of the gates, throwing Node Red in it, I think it's going to be a bit too overwhelming. I know it's powerful, I understand that, but I think for someone that's at the beginning trying to get into it, you know, there needs to be some time. I would say a little bit of time with Home Assistant first, understand how that works. Node Red is quite powerful. So I think I've got one Node Red video, got two Node Red videos. I got one with Will Surridge Tech. We did a Node Red versus Home Assistant live stream, and that was actually one of my first smart live streams that I actually ever did. So you can go and watch that video to see the comparison against Node Red. But yeah, anyway, so let's carry on. Yeah, I think that Node Red is powerful. It gets a lot of thumbs up from everyone here, and it's not too bad. I mean, it's not too bad to use, but again, it's another thing that people need to get their head down. 502 error in Node Red. Well, yeah, it can happen too. All right, let's carry on. So yeah, I've lost it. There we go. We're back in. Scripts. Okay, so scripts. So what are scripts? Scripts, the best way I can describe scripts without sounding like a techie guy, it's a group of actions that can be reused in automation. So you remember before we had triggers, actions, conditions in our automations. Here we have scripts, and scripts are a group of actions, right, that can be reused in automations. Why even bother with scripts? When should you start using scripts? Now, I would fit, in my opinion, you would start with building automations first, understand how they work, then you will go and you'll find out you'll need scripts. You'll probably not know what scripts are. You're not going to know what scripts are going to do for you at the beginning, but you got to figure out quite quickly that you need something like scripts to help you. What are the main things scripts can achieve? Reduce automation complexity. That's as simple as, really. Reduce the automation complexity, and you can change things in one place without changing them in multiple places. Let me give you an example of how this works. And but you guys let me know if there are any scripts you actually use in the channel. Let's see. This thing with the mouse not working sometimes when I present. Let's find out. Trying to get the mouse to appear so you guys can see it now beautifully. Let's see. Yeah, sometimes technology fails you, isn't it? I mean, let's see what's going on. Ah, okay. Got the cursor back. Got the cursor back. Not allowed to sing, I guess. Okay, well, I forgot what we're doing. Okay, we're doing scripts. So these are some of the scripts that I started building. The one I want to mention today is that notify all script that I think is quite useful for many of us. Now, let me actually explain what this is supposed to do. So with Home Assistant, you can use notifications. So notifications, like, notice your phone, you can get a notification. You can customize these notifications as always with Home Assistant. You can do so many things. So when you customize these notifications, for example, you can say, I don't know, there's a leak, right? Going back to that water sensor again, there's a leak in the kitchen and you want to notify all of your devices. So assume you have 3 or 4 or 5 devices or different family members. The notify action is something that you're going to need to repeat over and over and over again in every automation that you want to use notifications for. And it's going to drive you crazy. It's going to really drive you crazy. So what you can do is, and I don't want you to look at the code too much. You don't need to understand the code at the moment. You need to understand the concept of what scripts can do for you. But basically, you can pass messages, you can pass variables, so you can pass a title and a message, and it will actually apply it to all of these that I've set up. So it's a 3-in-1. So what happens is if I need to add if I buy a new device, right? Let's buy a new iPhone or buy a new whatever, and I want to add them into this notification all group, what I do is I go to configuration, not scenes, scripts, go inside notify all, add it, save it, done. That's where you're saving your time. If you imagine you had like, I don't know, 50 automations, and then you have to go manually one by one, all of your automations to amend to, add a new device now that you want to notify. Let me know if this wasn't clear, and I'll answer any question around that. But that's as far as I want to go talking about scripts today, because I don't want to go into too much detail. But let me know in the comments if you guys are still there, if it's all going well. And if you guys use scripts, I want to listen to use cases why we should be using scripts more, or if you've never used them before, if you're going to use them now. So let me know. I haven't got any water. I only got a drink here. Awesome. So let's carry on. Scenes. So let's talk about scenes. So scenes, it took me a while to get my head around exactly how useful scenes are. Now, I think they have their place, and I'll tell you where scenes have their place. Scenes are useful, for example, as a good night scene, good morning scene, leaving home, arriving home scene. I think those are the foremost used scenes in smart home, in automation or whatever. So technically, I try to come up with a definition here. Changes to a predefined status of a device or entity. So as you can see the slide, I don't know if you can see it. You can see there's a light over here, right? and there's a light behind here, and then you can see that bookcase has got an LED strip on it, right? I can set, those are statuses of devices. So that's on, blue, that's on, that's on. And I can capture all of these statuses in a scene, and then I can reuse the scene. So it's the same sort of concept as scripts, you know, trying to change things in one places and reduce complexity. The scenes are terribly, they are really easy to create. I think, you know, they're a lot easier to create compared to things. So let's look at this movie scene. Okay, so movie scene, and you can see it. I've got this little icon here, this little movie icon. Scrolling down, I've got 4 lights that I'm controlling, 2 main lights and 2 lamps, and I'm setting this all up in this way. So it's off. This is what I want it to be when the scene triggers. So I want living room 1 off to turn off. I want living room 2 to be slightly on. I want the lamp 1 to be on, lamp 2 to be off. So that's what I've set up here with this scene, right? So the scene is just doing this. It's just a movie scene, okay? You're going to think, well, what's the point of this? You could trigger scenes from dashboards, but you can also trigger scenes from automations. So let me click on the automations, and let's see if I can find it. So I've created an automation called Movie in Living Room. If I edit it, and let me go through it quickly. I've got an Apple TV in the living room over there. If it goes to playing, so if it's playing and it's after sunset, right? Then I can do a call, activate scene. So I'm going to activate scene, and I can see scene dot. So this is exactly the same scene that I created just over here, right? So that's how you can connect it. So you could have directly said, you know, add action, and then you can say living room 1 off, add action, living room 2 on, 1%, you know, lamp 1 on, lamp 2 off. So you would have had to do it 4 times, but instead you could just call the scene. That means that if I have another automation that triggers movie scene for any reason, like me, you know, my voice, communicate to a voice assistant. I'm pointing that way because I've got voice assistants over there, that's why. But if I use my voice to communicate, then I can activate scenes from my voice. I can have a physical button on my wall, like a wireless Wi-Fi, whatever button. And I can say, if I tap on the button, then the scene will trigger. So that's, again, your advantage. You're reducing your complexity because you don't have to write it in 4 times. Nice. So let's see what we got. And I'm going to have a look at some comments now before we move on. So Martin, and nice to see you. Haven't used scripts yet. Okay, well, you know, there's the first time. I would think about that, notify all, or it could be other good ones also to use scripts. Jill, he's saying scripts, use them like functions in programming. Yeah, indeed. Programming has a lot of these principles of reusability, and you basically in the software world, reuse is one of the things people want to do. You want to reuse as much as possible. Okay, so Home Assistant has he says, he or she, I don't know, I have a scene set up called John Lennon mode. It shuts down everything in the house and is activated when the Beatles music comes on. Okay, all right, very cool. Very cool. So, all right, we know how to shut down your house now. Okay, thanks for the feedback, Martin. How do you do all commands in automation? So do you mean like or in the like if statements or conditions? So you can use something called choose in the actions part of the automations, and then you can say, if this happens, do this. You can also do it through something called templating, if you have never heard about that before. It's a bit like programming. Yeah, and then you can also do conditions, and you can do add conditions and then do or ands. So you can say it's either one thing or another, or it has to be this and that. Yeah, conditions, yeah. Yeah, you can do them from the UI, or you can do them from the code itself. So, and it's just easier to show you over here. So this is the how you do it. So this or, you can do it from the code like this. So you would say or this, or that. And then you can do and, or, you know, all sorts of combinations really. Okay, no worries. Yeah. So we got, is Home Assistant compatible with cars? Yes, depending on what you mean. Let me pop up the question. Yeah, you can connect to certain cars. There, I think there's like Tesla, BMW, I know there's Nissan. There's a few manufacturers that allow you to connect to their infrastructure, and then you can use it to do like automations or stuff like that. Let me know if you want to learn more about that. Okay, right. Talk about scenes. Helpers. Now, helpers, it's a tricky one to understand what helpers are. There's something that can help you, right? Well, it's hopefully everything that can help you. Hopefully all features can help you. One way I think of helpers is that they hold some information that can be used in automations, but that's automation, there's information that we've created ourselves. So it's not actually a state of a device, but it's something that we control. For example, guest mode. So you can do something like check a toggle box. So you could toggle on, toggle off, and you can do things like guest mode. And then you can use guest mode for things like, well, if there's a guest, then I don't want the John Lennon scene to turn everything off, because my guest is not going to be happy that their lights are turned off while they were in the shower, right? Because the Beatles, whatever, started singing, right? So let me show you how you can do them quite quickly. Go to configurations, see helpers here, and you can create things like just add helper. Got quite a few options: toggle, text, number, date, drop down, counter, or time. So toggle will be something like this, and you can just say guest mode. I never know the MDIs by heart, so I don't know if there's a guest. I never get it right, so I'll forget the icon. But anyway, here you go. So now you've got guest mode, and then you can control that from your dashboard. So let me show you. And let's find it. Okay, so I'm adding it in, and there you go. So there you go. So you can toggle it on, off. It's not doing anything, but that's how you can use it. So you can toggle it on and then use it for like, in your conditions. Cool. Let me show you an example, another example. I remember which one it is. I'll show you from the helpers. I can't remember what I called it. Okay, here you go. So I'll show you this. So this input, it's not an input select, I can't remember. Basically it's helper, right? So in this helper, I'm creating the a light limit. So let me give you a bit of background. So I've got an automation in the kitchen that says turn on the lights if the light falls under a threshold, okay? And previously I had that threshold set in the automation, so it could be 30, 40, that's like the level of light, yeah? So what you can do is, instead of having it hard-coded, like we would say, like programmers would say in the code, you can use these values that you can then change in the dashboard without you having to go into the code, make those changes. So anyone can change the sensibility of lights through the dashboard without actually having to, need to go into the code. So let's say the whole family has access to the dashboard, but ideally only maybe one person is touching the code and the automations. So this is another idea of how you can use helpers. And let me know also if there are other scenarios, use cases that you use, help us for. My house, my rules. Yeah, of course, appreciate that. Andy is saying, have my two Shelly ones tested and ready to install in my garage for my two garages this weekend. Thanks for the video. No problems at all. They are magical little devices. They're like Wi-Fi relays that you get them for £15 or $15, whatever, and they just do magic. And yeah, really good. Happy that you're going to be getting that installed. Okay, question from Home Assistant. So you could have an automation that if a person is connected to the guest Wi-Fi, it toggles guest mode, which then overrides other automations. Yes, I probably might steal that idea in a future video. But yes, you can do that. And well, I mean, you can depending on what integrations you have. So remember, you're going to need to know if someone's on the guest Wi-Fi. In my example over here, I'm using Ubiquiti. If you don't know what Ubiquiti is, it's like networking gear. So I've got an access point, router, all sorts of stuff, switches. So they work really well with Home Assistant. I'm actually able to track who's on my Wi-Fi and on which Wi-Fi they are. So yeah, you could do that easily. I think that's usually one of the best use cases of finding out if you've got a guest or not. They'll probably ask for your Wi-Fi quite quickly. My first things right that happens. Good idea, very good idea. Yeah, they're variables. Yeah, exactly, they're variables. It's a good way of thinking about them. All right, nice. Getting towards the last few concepts I want to go through today, some of the main concepts in Home Assistant. So, zones. So, how can we use zones? And there are a few things to think of. Zones, you have zones, people, device trackers. So there are three concepts on this slide that I want you to take away. Zones, as you can see from this little map image, it's a specific longitude or latitude that you set up. You can either do this from a map in the UI, and you can just click on point on it, or you can just write the code for it. Basically, like everything else, you've always got two ways of doing it, or nearly always. So you see the circle, you can set the radius, you can set it small, you can set it big as you want. Now there's one zone that gets created when you install Home Assistant, which is the home zone. Now a little tip, not sure if you guys know this, but the home zone can be overwritten. Well, you can't change the radius of the home zone through the UI, but you can through the code. So if you're struggling with the home zone, that's a tip over there. So let's talk about people. So you can see that's a photo of me, younger version. I was actually at a wedding, not my wedding in Italy. But anyway, it was good times. And so you create a person linked to a user. So a user can, log into Home Assistant. So a person has a status, right? They have a state, right? And they're home or not home, or they could be anywhere. And you have device trackers. So device trackers are the actual physical things that are tracking you for real. So you can have things like apps on your phone, like the Home Assistant app. You can enable it to use it as a device tracker. You can install Life 360, like a third-party GPS tracker. You can use Bluetooth devices to pinpoint location. You can use your own router to find out if you've connected to your own Wi-Fi, then you must be home. And those are the fundamental things. Now, when you add a combination of device, you can add multiple device trackers to a person, and the Home Assistant decides the state of the person based on the device trackers. So you would try to do your automations based on the person, not on the device trackers. So hopefully that was quite clear. Let me know if you use zones, if you've got any questions about zones and how they work. You can create additional zones also. So you can create zones, basically any zone. You can have school zone, shopping center zone, church zone, I don't know, whatever you want. And then you can do things like if someone goes, have I dropped off, has my partner dropped off or picked up someone from school, you can get a notification. So you can do all sorts of things with, where people are and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Not happy, Home Assistant. Found where zones are. So yeah, so you can have a play around with zones. Feel free to rewatch this if you're confused. But anyway, we'll move on to the next topic. HACS. So let's talk about HACS. So this is something that I love HACS, right? Let's start with that. But when I look at videos, I look at a lot of videos on YouTube of going back to basics and all that stuff with Home Assistant. And it's always, HACS is very early on in the sort of, it's like you need to install HACS immediately. And I think this will probably depend. If you absolutely need HACS, go ahead and install it. But there are a few things you need to be aware of. First of all, it's community-led, but it's unofficial. So a lot of the integrations that are born in HACS become official integrations, which is what we were talking about earlier. So the official integrations are always going to be more reliable. They're being signed off, reviewed by the developers, and they follow certain standards. Sure, also ones in HACS too, but it's basically use at your own risk. So you want to, and you can do front end, back end. What I mean by that, integrations and cards in dashboard. So you can use new cards. I do use HACS. I've got a few things with HACS. I've got Reolink integration. It's working really well. Really happy with it. They've done a good job. I've got a Sonoff light switch integration. That's been working really well. But again, HACS is huge. Well, there's a lot of stuff in HACS. So it's again, use at your own risk. So yeah, just document yourself, find out if that has been used, and basically, it should be reliable, but keep an eye out on that concept over there. So let me know if you guys are into HACS or not. Got Martin's using zones. Martin says, I'm using zones to automatically notify my wife that I've reached my workplace okay, and she's always worried because it's 150 kilometers away from home. That's nice. That's good. That's good to hear that you're using it effectively. So yeah, so there's quite a few use cases with zones. I'm happy with that. And there we have it, right? So we got to nearly the end. Got one more thing to mention, and we're going to go into the Q&A. Want to learn more? So if you want to learn more about these courses and this content, and you want to get into Home Assistant, these are courses that are designed for people that want a bit of more of want some help, time limited, so a bit busy, and really don't have the budget to go for things like, Control 4 and spend $50,000-$60,000 to have someone coming in and doing it all for them. So I'm trying to, the advantage of these are that they are being curated. They are one after the other, no ads, no distractions, no nothing. So check them out. There's a lifetime bundle that you can get, link in the description. You can also go through the membership if you prefer doing it that way, and that's like monthly. Or you can buy individual courses, and obviously if you buy them and you're not happy with them, then there's no problem, just refund. There's absolutely no problem, because if you're not happy, with it, you're not getting the value, then there's no point at all. So the way I'm going to be doing things in this channel is a huge amount of stuff on YouTube. I think I'm nearly towards 80 videos. So if I continue like this, I'll do 100 videos in a year on YouTube. So I'll continue always doing videos on YouTube. But these are things that people have asked me to say, well, I need help. I want you to just show me everything step by step. And that's what these are for. So for the people that just need support, or they want to feel part of, have more things to look at, right? So build a smart home. I started that from scratch, from planning, installing, everything basically I talked about today and more. It's around like 120 lessons. It's a huge. You don't need to watch them all. So that's build a smart home. That's what that is. It's my exact smart home, how I built it. So that's going to be quite unique. The other two are going to be just focusing around automations and dashboards. Now, these are the three that I have now. 2 are in pre-order, and you've got that special coupon that you can use. And I think it's valid for like the time of the live, or maybe this evening, tomorrow, and then that expires. So I want to know also what other courses or you guys want to use. So I launched a survey a few weeks ago, and I figured out that a lot of you guys want to use Node-RED, want to learn about Node-RED, automations in Node-RED. I was also thinking about doing stuff around Plex, media server, so enhancing the whole smart home thing by doing like home theater stuff. Also, I was also thinking that I might do things like digital security, so staying safe, having a safe smart home, and obviously building a network, home network, like Unify, stuff like that. So there's a few ideas that I've got in mind, but obviously this is limited to the time that I have. So that's content that you might expect, on this channel and stuff like that going forward too. I like the dashboard customizations for dummies. So I'm done now with the pitching and the courses. I'm not going to mention it anymore. So I just want to let you know, because I put a lot of effort in it. To be fair, a lot of work goes into these courses. So, but now you know what? It's really, guys, for you to ask more questions. You have been very patient. You've been here for an hour and 20, some of you. So let me know what actually you would like me to answer, talk about, and we could do something a little bit more relaxed. If you guys want to, you could drop in. Let me see if I can get a link. So feel free to. So just dropped a link. Now, if someone wants to hop on and ask a question, they could come on live. You can ask the question. So if you are cool with that, you want to do that, I've given you the option. You've got the link there. I think we've got a question around. Mrs. has got a question. So how to connect Bluetooth sensors to ESP32 to USB Home to Home Assistant? Okay, awesome. So what Bluetooth sensors are you? What are these Bluetooth sensors supposed to do? That will be my first question. What's your use case for these Bluetooth sensors? Second of all, I do not have ESP32, so I can't give you specific advice on that. But what I would say is I would be interested in understanding actually the use case and what you're trying to do, and I might help you with those automations. Awesome. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm on the got this standing desk, and it's been a bit tiring, so I'm going to try to lower this desk down and see if I can answer a couple more questions in the meantime, and let you guys let me lower this down a bit. It's getting late for me. I don't know. Must be I shouldn't be getting. I mean, everyone's getting old, I guess. let me lower this down. But it's not too loud and annoying noise. Okay, so yeah, it is a big topic. Yeah, I understand. You don't know how many ideas I actually have. I mean, the thing is, this is crazy. I mean, like I said, this is a book full of ideas of things that I'm actually thinking of doing, and so many things I want to do. But it just takes a huge amount of time. I'll be honest with you. It takes a huge amount of time to create this content. Lives are sort of easier-ish because you don't need to do video editing. But to create a YouTube video, it takes time, idea, get it to work. Also, you need to know what you're talking about. So I take the approach to not say anything unless I know something about it. So I could, if I haven't been using something, it's difficult to actually recommend or know all of the quirks, right? So I think you understand what I mean by that. See something else I can show you. Let's see. Are they like automations you guys wanna see? Let's see if there's anything interesting you guys wanna have a look at. If not, we can see if there's some interesting automations. To be fair, the automations, I haven't recreated them much at the moment, so I'm still working on them. This automation over here, this is something that uses that Nest doorbell. Oh yeah, this is something that I actually needed to mention, that you can modify automations in the UI and in the code. Let's jump into the code now. Let me show you. So I have split up my automations in folders, and that's something quite a little bit more advanced, so you can see. But this is the automation I wanted to just mention briefly. So the port light turns on when the doorbell rings or a person is detected. So this uses the Nest. It uses the doorbell chime for this one over here. This is the camera person. This is an example of a trigger basically with two triggers. So this is one trigger and this is the second trigger. Probably not looking at you guys, I'm looking at the code, so the camera is a bit off there, so apologies for that. Conditions are something that I'm using. For example, I want the porch light to turn on at sunset. And action, you can see this is just turning on the porch light. And I've actually got another one that turns it off if it's been on, so it sort of completes the whole thing. Okay, awesome. Jill, what are the purpose of blueprints? Okay, so blueprints, I find they're an easy way to create automations, and they're an easy way to reuse and to share automations. There's like a blueprint community that you can import automations from. So if we import automations, so you go to blueprints over here. I've got a couple of blueprints that I imported. One cool one is this one, the battery level notification. That's done by, can't pronounce his or her name. But what you can do is you can just click on create automation. And what you can do is you can now create an automation through this template. The purpose of this automation is to be notified when the battery level of something drops at a certain level. So you can go and say, well, I want the front door battery or my iPhone's battery, whatever battery. You set the level here, so you can either type it in 21 or use a slider. And here you just pick the device, so you can say, well, notify the iPhone. And this guy over here, the message, this is around the, this is cool because this uses the templating. So this is driven by this. So whatever, if you pick front door battery, then this entity name is going to be front door battery. And battery as drop to will be not this, well, it will be this level. So basically it will be that the battery level of this device would have dropped to this level, and that's where you get the notification. So you got battery level over here, and then you just save it, and then, well, you give it a name, and that's it. And that's how you can create automations with blueprints. You create your own blueprints. I haven't been creating blueprints much, to be fair, but that's that. Well, thanks for the question. Okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna call it a day. Like this video, this stream, if you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about the slides, if it was useful or not. If you were already a Home Assistant user, did I miss out something? Let me know. That would be cool. For next time, certainly can amend it and add it in when I'm potentially gonna go through this again, when things probably gonna change, as they normally do with Home Assistant. They always change a lot. So, but let me know if you have enjoyed it. But I really will be seeing you soon. A few videos are coming out this month. Ideas of videos, I'll read them out. Let's see. So I promised that I was going to do a media dashboard video if my other video hit 250 likes. I think we're very close. So that video is going to be coming, where I'm going to be doing a whole dashboard with my media center and how I control it. So that's something I'm going to be looking into. Other video will be coming out is the Home Assistant, the one add-on to rule them all. Helpers, talk about helpers more. Potentially talk about scripts also. I've got a robot vacuum that I bought a few weeks ago that I need to integrate into Home Assistant. That's also going to be coming. Yeah, and I've got a bigger one. I don't want to spoil it. That's something that is going to take a lot of time to do. Hopefully, if that comes through, you'll see it. So subscribe to the channel basically to not miss these videos next month. But I appreciate your support. You know, you guys have been awesome. Thanks for staying here. Still 18 people here. That's amazing. Got a good thanks for the comments, feedback. Cracking job. Yeah, thanks from DJ Roscoe, appreciated that. Happy you enjoyed it, Martin. Which one? I don't know what I said, what you're referring to. Ecovacs, yeah, Ecovacs, that's the robot vacuum. Yeah, Ecovacs is the one I've got, and I'll be integrating it into Home Assistant. It's on my to-do list anyway, so I have to do it. I'll just film it and I'll put it up on this channel. Guys, stay safe. I'm gonna end the broadcast now. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope you really just stay safe and have a good evening.